Welcome back to another Season 4 episode of Detections Podcast with your host, Exile Detrades.
And I'm the BSD Bandit. Ow!
And I'm Understudy 77, who's not going to even try to sound excited because I'm tired.
And BSD already started out by not going overboard on pitching himself, so
That's a win,
good.
yeah. I'm growing up.
I'm growing up now.
But it is like
better.
personal update time. Actually, so here's what's funny, BSD. This moment that we're in right now, this is the absolute appropriate time for your personal pitch.
Yep.
So why don't you start? That way you don't drop it halfway through the episode when we're talking about something else.
Okay, you know what? Hey, so everyone, thank you once again for Detections. And I just wanted to put out this week has been a pretty interesting week. Myself and my team, we released Sec BSD, which is a project that we've been working on for over a year, which is just a penetration testing distro based on the BSD operating system.
Which literally tens of people are using.
Say 10. Yes. Yes. For all the
there
10
are dozens of them. Dozens of them.
Yes. Tens of dozens. Uh-oh, look at that. For all the tens
No,
of
that's
dozens,
too many. Tens of dozens is too many. You know you're not at that level.
Okay, we'll stick with the 10 then. Well, at least a dozen. Give us a dozen.
I'll give you a dozen. A dozen's a
Okay.
good number. I'll give you a dozen.
Okay, for all the dozens out there that that use BSD, definitely check out secbsd.org. You can download the ISO image. It's in alpha mode. If you have any questions, concerns, updates, or recommendations, we're all ears. This is a completely volunteer-free project.
Volunteer-free project, so no volunteers, only paid people?
It's a free project for volunteers. You can volunteer. I don't care who you are. If you have some input, have at it. Submit bugs. The whole
Basically,
shebang.
just message him with a list of all the tools that you want ported over,
Yeah.
and mark them all as priority 1, and you want them now.
Ooh, see, y'all treat me like we might as well call it Sec BSD sock. Uh-oh.
So is
I
this
was a little late on the drum there, but I got it.
So is this on open or free BSD?
This is on OpenBSD, actually. So it's based off the OpenBSD operating system. Reason we chose that, because OpenBSD stands on the reputation of being secure out of the box by default. So if you're going to have a pen test distro, why not have something that... You wouldn't want to have something that's totally holy and insecure out the box by default with everything turned on. So that's why we went with OpenBSD.
But is it true? Because I know Red Hat had the Oracle version of Unbreakable Linux from
It's absolutely true, because every operating system that's only used by 10 people, nobody's trying to hack. Nobody's trying to hack an OS used by 10 people.
Dozens.
So
you
you're
mean
good.
dozens.
Fine,
said
nobody's
dozens.
trying to hack an OS used by a dozen people, so you're good.
For now, you never know what can happen in the future.
So 2021
Probably
year
not
BSD.
BSD. I don't think 2021 or 2022 or 2023 or I can keep going
goodness.
is gonna be the year of BSD.
It's going to be the ultimate little guy coming back from the underdog, the ultimate underdog story.
Actually,
Open BSD.
Here is my proclamation on 2021 and forward. It's gonna be the year of Chinese skinned Linux distros, because like it or not, and security risks or concerns are not, I just want to say the Chinese know how to make a UI. We talked about Deepin last year. There's another one, and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it's built for touchscreen Ubuntu, and it's so good looking. We're finally getting to a point where Linux UIs are starting to be beneficial and easy to use and all this stuff. And then you just have to go well, am I willing to use a Chinese-made UI? Are there risks associated with that or not? I haven't read any conclusive that there are, but I also haven't read that there aren't. So
Yeah, I'm just gonna say I think it depends on where you're getting the software from, because China does have a significant portion of the world's population, and there are some intelligent people if we think back in the day,
I mean, they also built
one of the original
all
like
of our
rootkit detection tools was written by a Chinese coder just in his free time.
They also
and given us the internet.
Basically build all of our tech. So like, there's other concerns if you're going to have them, but I'm just saying, like, the UIs coming out of China for Linux distros right now actually make me want to use Linux. Like, they're that good looking. They're incredible as far as like a usability and looks perspective, and I am vain and I like that stuff.
Oh my God, you heard it here first. Understudy says he's going to start using Linux.
Yeah, oh no, I never said that. I said that it makes me want to use it. I'm still not going to get past the support problems and all that other crap. Like, there's a whole
and the
bunch of
potential
support
for unwanted extras added into the software packages.
Honestly, like in my home use case, I don't really give it two shits.
Right.
Like, it's my home use case.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
Microsoft has how much extra shit built in.
Yeah. Like, if we go back to TikTok, right? Like, so there was all this stuff about TikTok, but if we think about it, like, what were they getting access to from the TikTok videos? Like, just how much of people want their daily lives to be more like a musical and less...
Right?
Pretty much, right?
I do love a good musical. I really do. I love a good musical.
I really hope the sea shanty thing continues.
I enjoy a good sea shanty too. Back when I was in a band, we actually wrote a couple songs that were kind of sea shanty-ish. That were really, really fun to play and write. But BSD, didn't you have talks coming up or something as well?
Yes. Well, actually, this past week, that's what I said. This week has been pretty adventurous. I did a talk on hacking web APIs. That talk will be uploaded to YouTube on February 5th. But really had a good time doing it. It was my first live webcast, so that was huge. Shout out to Red Siege. Ow! I definitely had a great time. Definitely look forward to doing more webcasts. So be on the lookout for that.
Nice. I also did a webcast of sorts recently with the Blue Team Village. They have a mentor program, right? Like an official mentor program where you algorithmically get paired with a mentee or a mentor if you're looking for a mentor. I think there's a waiting list to get in, but if you're interested, I would encourage you to check it out. It's a cool program. But they also do like monthly webcasts for Meet a Mentor just for the people in the program. Then they go on YouTube. So I got to do one panel a while back on like gaining skills and like skills required to be an infosec. And this one was on soft skills.
Okay.
So I got to do a whole panel on soft skills with some really, really incredible people who's I'm not even going to try to list them because I will have forgotten their names by now and I will butcher something because it was like last week.
Yeah.
But it was really, really awesome. And I love doing those panels with that group. And I love panel conversations. The same reason why I love doing a panel with the two of you because I love conversational dialogue. But that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that a lot. But everybody at my house has been sick this week, so I have not enjoyed this week as much.
I can
because
imagine.
we've all been a little under the weather. Nothing serious, just just a cold, essentially. But
so
what else
speaking
is going
of panels
on?
and talking, I have something coming up.
Oh yeah, what do you got?
What's
got. Remember how I talked about doing the co-presentation at the local B-sides here with the law student?
Yeah.
Well, that actually got me to be a technical person in... oh, crap. I just totally blanked the term that you were just using. A panel with two other people to talk about privacy law at a law forum that's happening on the 31st.
Okay.
Nice.
So that'll be interesting. It's like business people and lawyers and me as a dirty technical person talking about how privacy law relates to or things that we need to be aware about with privacy law.
That's fantastic. I can't stop doing that, by the way. I recently rewatched Psych while I was on vacation, and now I can't stop saying me as me. Every time I do it, I'm like, what about me?
That just means you need a pineapple to keep in the background now.
I do have a pineapple in the background, and his name is Gus. My pineapple's name is Gus.
Well, this is my
I'm very sad that basically nobody's gotten that reference. But like only like 10 people who actually watch this on YouTube are going to see me pointing at Gus.
Yeah, the 10 people that use a BSD.
That could be true because they might not actually get audio drivers that work.
That's okay. He didn't mean that, kitten. He didn't mean it.
But yeah, it's been a week, that's for sure. Kid's been home and it's been a week. But I'm still kind of psyched from last week's guest was really fun.
Oh my god! Yes.
So I'm still kind of psyched from that, and like that was just an altogether really fun experience. And I got the book.
Yes.
It came in BSD. I think you did too.
But did you sign up for the newsletter? That's the real test.
Don't ask me that question.
Don't you do that. Don't you do that.
Why do you think I'm asking the questions so that I'm keeping all of the attention away?
Don't you do that.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Right. Did you sign up for the newsletter?
All right. So shall we jump into the news?
Yeah.
Yes.
Would you want to start us out?
Yeah, I can
or should we have you go last because you've got the fun one?
That's true. I do have the fun one, so I can go last. I think you have kind of the least fun one, but the most interesting exiled. So why don't you kick it off?
I like that. So, I mean, least fun. There are some crazy people out there who enjoy licensing conversation. That is a good time for them. So I think it's totally subjective. But yeah. So I saw this news article about Elastic changing their licensing on Elasticsearch and Kibana because of services like AWS who were taking their software and repackaging as a for-profit service and reselling it. So they put out a huge long tweet about it. There's actually 2 blog posts they put out about it. The one is the official announcement for the license change. And then a clarification, like further explanation about why they're doing it.
Uh-huh.
And what it comes down to is they have 2 license options, and you get to pick which one that you want right now. The first one is the SSPL, which, if you're familiar with MongoDB, that's the same licensing that Mongo uses.
Correct.
And then they still have their Elastic license that they use. So, first thoughts. What do you all think about this change that's specifically targeting like AWS or these cloud hosting services that are repackaging their product? Or an interesting thing that I saw here is that they were reverse engineering controls in place to get access to the paid services without paying for them.
Yeah, well, it's really tough to talk about that without the entire Twitter thread of explanation, right? Because there's this big long Twitter thread of explanation about like what they went through with AWS, and it's interesting because it fits the Amazon MO. Like, so I read an article recently about like what Amazon does, and apparently like the shoe company that I shop from, Allbirds, like almost all my shoes are from Allbirds. They're at war with Amazon too, because Amazon went to them and said, we would like you to sell on Amazon. And they said, yeah, no, we're good. So Amazon made their own copy pair, because Amazon has this practice where if you sell on Amazon, they make you, and someone claims potential fraud, which can happen for any number of reasons, including Amazon flags you. You have to provide a list of your manufacturers and who's manufacturing what.
Gotcha.
And not long after that has happened many times, Amazon has basically came out with the same item for cheaper labeled as an Amazon Basic. So Amazon reverse engineering their competitors' shit and rebranding it and selling it as their own is not particularly outside of Amazon's MO. It's pretty fucking common. I, for one, fully support Elastic making licensing changes to try to protect themselves. Mm-hmm. Because ultimately all the license is saying, and this is if my memory is right, if you're going to sell it, anything that you build onto it, you must put in public. Like, you must open source that shit too.
Yeah.
So if you take this thing and customize our work, you have to give back all your changes to the public so that they can use it too. And that could cause them to not be a solution for a lot of people, but that also forces the open source thing to be open source, which I think is a net positive. Like, I don't think that's a problem, nor do I think a company like Amazon really needs to get richer by fucking rebranding Elastic themselves. Plus, a lot of confusion throughout that thread where they were calling it like where Amazon actually made a statement that they partnered with Elastic when they never did and all this other crap. So, like, I don't blame them for it.
No.
I think it's a good idea on their part, but I also know that Amazon's probably just not going to listen.
Of course not.
Like, you know,
Would you?
it's just going to be whatever.
Yeah.
Like, Amazon's going to do Amazon. Like, that's what they do.
Yeah.
Like, half of their business is built on stealing other people's ideas and rebranding it as their own.
And then the other side of that is then locking their competition down within their marketplace portals.
Correct.
Like they do with Audible. Where when
And
you list and sell
destroying
on
their
Audible,
competition.
like you can only list and sell on Audible.
Yep.
This
And
is-
destroying said competition as they make their own product that's cheaper than who's selling.
Yep.
I don't
Like,
know.
they're playing both sides of that market.
I don't know. I'm getting a little flashback of some kind of Microsoft bug. You know, how they treated Novell. I mean, just kind of stole their directory services and then walked them completely out of the market.
Yeah, we'd be completely remiss to not say that this hasn't been taking place in the technical realm for
Yeah,
fucking ever.
it's nothing new.
This is not new.
No.
Amazon is just doing it at a scale no one has ever been able to do it at.
And then that brings up the question, like, will Elastic have the resources needed to
Hell
actually
no.
fight back after that?
No.
No one can fight Amazon.
No.
Elastic will probably never pull down another public update and will probably just branch where they are now
Yeah.
on the old license and build on it like that. That's my guess, and that's perfectly legal for them.
Mm-hmm.
However, what I wonder is if this is going to have long-term implications. So I wonder if people are going to see this as a warning sign, and a good one at that, right? And they're going to start making decisions up front. So they're going to start using that kind of open source licensing model that Elastic switched to from the launch of their product rather than later. Because that basically ensures that their product can't be co-opted that way. Where now, like, as long as you're on an old version, you haven't agreed to a new license, you're good.
And I think that's something to keep in mind, even as people are, like, releasing code on GitHub for the community, for, like, little scripts or little things like that,
Right.
is to put licensing on it up front to begin with. Like, I realize it, front loading it like that puts a little extra work on the developer, but it ends up being the safety net that an individual will need later down the road as these more predatory exploitative practices get implemented all the way down to those little droplets that people are releasing.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
very cautionary tale, but something really worth being aware of, because if you make something and you mean that thing to be open sourced and freely available,
Yeah.
you're going to want to protect yourself from a huge company making a bunch of money off you, or even arguably small companies making a bunch of money off of your
Yep.
hard work without putting back into that community. Look at folks like Recon who are using this stuff constantly, right?
True.
But they also merge all of their shit back in. So, like, they're actively giving back to the community and building
Right.
on these tools and providing what they're building back out to other people, which is
Yeah.
all Elastic is asking for. And that's a completely reasonable ask, in my opinion.
And if anyone's curious, like further arcs of research on licensing, you can check out the Open Source Initiative or the Electronic Frontier Foundation. They both have really good resources on licensing models and which ones to use to be open source compliant, what technically isn't open source compliant, and things like that.
Right.
So, BSD, what you got, man?
Well, there was an article that I brought up about pretty much the breach of Einstein. And Einstein, it's based out of Pennsylvania, and it's more like a it's a health services company, right? So pretty much they've been breached. They've had a breach happen to them like back in August, and it's just pretty much like they're just reporting on that breach now, just like every other company was with the whole SolarWinds gang. So really not much of a subject with them, but it kind of that situation kind of leads to what we're going to really like jump into tonight. Far as
But we're not there yet.
we're not. No, I know we're not there yet, but
Just making sure.
Yeah, no. I know, because no, but the basis of like tonight's article, the basis of this article right now is just more so. It's no different than what we've been seeing in Twitter news, the Twitterverse about. Oh well, this company got hacked like back in September related to SolarWinds. This one got breached. Okay, this company, everybody's like coming out now that they've got breached.
Oh, God, yeah. But you know what's really interesting about this one? There's a couple
interesting
things,
about
actually. The first one is, yeah, they took about the regular amount of time to find it,
it? Yeah.
but they disclosed it before they had a lot of information, and most people don't disclose before they have some information. It's rare these days to see a company come out and be like, yeah, so like regarding like if patient information was stolen, we just don't know yet.
Right.
Like that's a pretty rare thing to happen in the world of breaches today.
Right.
You might get a disclaimer that like review is still ongoing, but usually it's like we believe that nothing has been stolen yet, or we know that these things have been stolen, but we're still looking into it.
We are not able to find any evidence.
Yeah.
Right.
There's usually not a like we don't know yet.
Yeah.
But they have identified like emails and attachments with account patient information.
Like every other company.
Yeah. The other interesting thing about it is it apparently broke breach notification rules.
Like every other company.
Right. But it matters
Say
almost
it.
more in healthcare. Like in anywhere, it matters more in healthcare. Because healthcare is where you're getting into very, very sensitive people information.
Yeah.
Like
And-
not just credit information, but like very sensitive people information.
And the compliance around it, like with HIPAA or some of the local stuff,
Yeah.
they have very tight deadlines
Right.
on when breach notifications need to happen.
So that's exactly what they broke. They had a 5-month lag in reporting, which is in violation of the HIPAA breach notification rule, which
Right.
mandates like 60 days
Yeah,
following
and
discovery.
it's mandated to give the potential. Even if you don't know, you're still supposed to release a notification that the potential that health information was taken or released.
Right.
Does anybody else miss the days when like healthcare was kind of off limits, and it was only like the worst of the worst people that went after healthcare?
Yeah,
Because
I
people
miss
didn't
those
fuck
days.
with healthcare.
I miss those days, but
I
unfortunately,
miss those days too.
We're living in a new era. I remember when being a hacker was mysterious, and now it's commercial.
Now we're getting
mean-
we're circling back around to we're doing paper trails and analog stuff
Right.
that exists only in physical space as being the most secure.
Pretty
Yeah,
much.
it's inevitable for anything to go commercial. But and I'm not saying that people never went after healthcare. I'm just saying like it feels like it was a lot less relevant
It really
a while
was.
ago. Like there was just some unspoken rule of like you don't go after healthcare, and it feels like I guess every year attackers push the rules of engagement a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, right?
Of course.
Like, that's not. I wonder where we're going to be in like 10 years from a rules of engagement or like honor among thieves perspective.
We're gonna be
Probably
cyborgs.
none, but.
No, we're gonna be cyborgs.
So yeah, we'll dig into that one more on the topic. So I was really torn tonight, by the way, between two topics. There was like the serious one and then the kind of fun one. And the serious one is this whole concept of like American cloud providers have to maintain detailed records of every foreign person who uses their service. It was like a final minute Trump executive order, which in and of itself is an interesting thing to talk about, but we'll link it so you can read it. And like, I'm happy to have a conversation about it if anybody wants to, but I want to talk about the fun one because I read a Wired article that just kind of made me smile. And that was Trump's worst, most bizarre statements about the cyber. And I love that it's the cyber. So like, I just want to hit a couple of these bullet points because hopefully they'll make everybody laugh a little bit.
Yes.
A lot of this started with talking about like Russia hacking the Democratic National Committee, right? And the statement was we came in with an internet, we came up with the internet, and ISIS is beating us at our own game.
Aw.
And then I have a son. He's 10 years old. He has computers. He's so good with these computers. It's unbelievable. The security aspect of cyber is very, very tough, and maybe it's hardly doable. But I will say we are not doing the job we should be doing. Which, funnily, I'm gonna jump around here for a minute because that statement toward the beginning of the Trump term, right, feels to me to be a direct
Shot.
contradiction with nobody gets hacked. To get hacked, you need somebody with 197 IQ, and he needs about 15% of your password. So to go with cyber is almost impossible to nobody actually gets hacked was amusing. And in the middle, there's some really wonderful pieces too, like the DNC hacked itself. We believe that the DNC did the hacking as a way to distract from the many issues facing their deeply flawed candidate and failed party leader.
That just reminds me of like the Talladega Nights scene after the accident. And Will's fellow character, Ricky Bobby, just starts stabbing himself
Right?
in the leg because he can't feel. It's like, yes, this is what we do. We stab ourselves in the leg.
All right. Too bad the DNC doesn't hack Crooked Hillary's 33,000 missing emails.
Hey.
Because they did that. Or Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. You might be rewarded by our press.
Russia,
or China or anybody else. I'd love to see them. Or, everybody's saying Russia, Russia, Russia. It could be China. It could be somebody sitting on their bed that weighs 400 pounds.
Could be Bulgaria. We don't know.
Right? I don't think it's Bulgaria. Is it ever Bulgaria? We need a CTI person to tell us if it's ever Bulgaria.
Now we know the next base of operations for the next LulzSec or whatever is just out of Bulgaria.
This is in kind of cool stark contrast with something that I saw as we move into a new administration. So, we're looking at the Biden administration coming in, and I just read an article, and I would have to find it again, and I'll try to find it so we can link it. Yeah. Apparently they hid something on the website, like a flag, that if you find it, takes you to a recruitment link because they're throwing $20 billion towards cybersecurity and cyber projects.
Yeah, basically all you had to do is if you just did view source on the webpage.
Yeah, I don't think it's hard to find.
Yeah, it wasn't hard to find.
I didn't look. I just read the article. But, it's one of the things that continues to become very starkly interesting to me is statements like this being made, which ultimately continues to show that, God, we do not have enough people who know how computers work in the government.
Mm-hmm.
At least not enough people who are listened to or in positions where they are listened to for policy decisions and things of that nature.
And when you said flag on the site, I just immediately thought about a CTF.
Well, that's why I said the word flag, because I was trying to incite the thought process of a CTF.
Yeah, it was not nearly as complicated as getting that invite code for Hack the Box.
Ooh, look
sure.
at that.
But it's still kind of a cool thing to do, and it's a cool little Easter egg and stuff. So
I've actually seen various web analytics companies who embed stuff in HTTP headers too as employment recruitment.
Gotcha.
Oh yeah, I've seen people who have CTFs that you have to go through, or challenges that you have to go through to even get recruited. There's quite a few consulting companies and contracting companies that do that.
I believe
you have to solve their set of challenges to even get a chance at an interview. But I'm hoping, I have a hope that there's going to be a focus on known and knowledgeable professionals in the next administration that will actually understand how computers work as we start talking about policy. Because I think the next 4 years are going to be policy heavy with all the hacks that are happening, with all the concerns about digital privacy, with all these other things that are going on right now. I have a feeling that we're going to be really looking from a position where we need knowledgeable people there helping to guide policy framework, because otherwise we're going to end up all fucked, and that's not going to be pleasant.
No.
Or it's just going to do more damage than good.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought we'd have a good laugh, and then we could talk a little bit about that other piece. But topic tonight, BSD, bring us in, take it away. What's our topic?
All right. So our topic tonight, we're going to get into some heavy stuff here. And we're going to talk about pretty much turning up your tool set. Yes.
I'm just going to, whenever you come up with a catchphrase, which you have always have a new catchphrase, that's going to be the thing that comes out after you say your catchphrase.
Yes.
And you always have a new catchphrase, which is going to make that a very common sound.
Well, here we go. I love it. So, as of late, I've been doing a lot of, of course, as you know, I do a lot of pen testing and red teaming and stuff, right? And
what, really? Wait, hold on. Really?
Yeah.
What are you doing on a Blue Team podcast?
Well, what I'm doing on a Blue Team, because I'm essentially... Wait a minute! You gotta let me finish the statement before you give me the walk.
You don't even need to finish the statement. I'm just fucking with you. Continue.
Listen, so I'm potentially purple. So I'm also detections. I am blue. I am red all the way. Okay? So,
dude, I'm just giving you shit. You're good to go.
I know. But so what? Well, pretty much during my adventures or whatnot, I'm noticing that it's a common theme when breaches happen, as we've been seeing all over the news. That they say, okay, everybody's quick to say, let's train the users. We need to train the users, or we need to train the people in the SOC. SOC needs help. There's not enough people in SOC. We need to train the users. But nobody's talking about the sysadmin. That's a huge gap there. So that's what I want to get into tonight. And it might get a little hot and heavy here, but again, this is Detections, and this is what we do. We talk about things, and we find solutions to them, and we all come out smiling. So, here you go. So, a lot of times, like, as we know about the SolarWinds and everything else breach-wise, we notice that, okay, somebody gets breached. It's either because of a phishing campaign, okay, and then everybody sees it, and they scream, oh, we need to train the users. The users are not looking at the security training. We need to fix security training. We need to, okay, let's see if the SOC sees anything. Oh, the SOC is not detecting this. We need to get them trained. We need to get them to security courses. We need to get more people in security. But you have people, not saying that's the case at every company, but you have a lot of sysadmins out there that are not using the internally built tools that come with just the basic OS or the application that they work with. For example, PowerShell logging. I can count, there's countless times I've been on engagements where PowerShell logging hasn't even been turned on. And you have, and that's built in to Windows. That's built into PowerShell now. No excuse for not having logging turned on. You know, and then
well, technically there's a lot of excuses, but I'm not. We won't go into that.
I'm going to my little rant right now. But I just feel like a lot of times for the sysadmin piece, which is the missing gap when we have discussions when breaches happen, everybody mentions the users. They mention the SOC. They lay it heavy on the SOC, but nobody talks about the middle piece where it comes to the sysadmins. And maybe and could be they don't have the proper training. That could be true. Because everybody doesn't come in knowing everything. That could be true. Or it's just that, and I've said this earlier, comfort. You have some sysadmins that have been at a place probably like 10, 20 years. I'll just say 10, because we're in a new era. 10 years. They know the routine. They know who to talk to, when to talk to them. And if something happens, it has to be pointed out to them. There's no proactiveness. It's always reactive. And I think that's the problem with a lot of our breaches that are happening. One of the problems. I'm not saying that's the end-all, be-all. But I think this is something that we need to talk about tonight. So I want to get you guys' opinion on this particular subject.
Yeah, let's dissect that a little bit.
Yes,
let's talk about like my perfect world for a minute.
Let's do it.
Because I also want to say, like, there is nothing wrong with a sysadmin being security conscious or security knowledgeable. That's beneficial.
Yes.
There can, however, be a lot wrong with a sysadmin being, the security person, especially if there is a SOC. So in my perfect world, you're right that we don't talk about the sysadmin enough.
Right.
But to me, it's not their job to review logs or any of that stuff. Now, knowing what logs are there, valuable from their perspective.
Yeah.
But to break it down very simply, a sysadmin to me is a facilitator of security, not a practitioner. They facilitate security for the practitioners. That's the way that I'm really breaking it down. Like, it ultimately is a lot of the SOC's job to go, PowerShell logging. Like, I know we can do it. Can we get that turned on? And getting some priority. And then the sysadmin has to facilitate those security things, because a sysadmin, there's no way in hell they're going to have time to like review raw log files. And when you're talking about advanced correlation and SIM and all those other things that lead into these rule sets to detect stuff, like there's no point in reviewing raw log files when you're doing that anywhere. You have people who are trained to like hunt through these logs or run some analytics across them.
Right.
So very much I think the sysadmin's job in an organization is to help facilitate security measures more than, own security as a whole. It doesn't mean that they don't have their own piece of ownership. Their ownership is just in facilitation rather than, practicing, right? I'll leave it there for a minute to let Exile dive in.
Yeah, so some of my initial thoughts were initial, scoping of job duties, right? So there's also a separation of job duties, and often in businesses, organizations, that role of looking through that security data is offloaded to something else, because the admins, whether it be network sys, application, have other things that they need to do. Like, they need to worry about availability, they need to worry about stability, they need to worry about resources available for people to utilize the system. that takes up a limited amount of time during the day.
So,
Now
good example, right? Like, let's
Yeah.
talk about like ransomware. If ransomware happens at your company and you got a bunch of shit that's locked down and encrypted and shares and all that kind of stuff,
Right.
your sysadmin's not going to be the one doing log review. Like, he can't. Like, he's going to be spending his time rebuilding the network.
Right.
he's on recovery mode at that point.
Correct.
It's like we
He's
need to get these
rebuilding the
services
network.
back up. Yeah.
Right.
He's facilitating security with making sure that they have the things that they need to
Now-
do their job.
Yeah, and to follow up with what you were saying about the facilitation, so I still think the actual responsiveness for doing that still lies within the security team. The SOC, the forensic investigators,
agree.
all those people. But that security team then has a way that they can increase their threshold by doing knowledge transfers to the admins. Specifically, when we think about aspects like baselining normal behavior.
Right.
Those admins are going to completely understand what services are normal, what are normal resource thresholds, what normal activity looks like on that. So then if the security team takes some opportunity to work with the admins to say, here's how we look for anomalous behavior, when they're going about their normal job, those things are going to jump out to them quicker than the SOC analysts are, because the SOC analysts still don't have that baseline understanding.
Yeah, but they can help provide that baseline from
Yep.
a detection and rule perspective, as well as facilitate overall. So, like, the way that I've done it in the past, and BSD, as you mentioned, like
Right.
log sources and logs that are available and stuff. We usually, the security teams that I run don't rely on other people to tell us what logs we need. We might go ask other people what systems can log what, especially when you're talking about custom apps or custom servers and systems. So we might say, hey, what logs exist? And then we will take a sample of those. We will evaluate the security capability and the security value of those logs, and we will say, you need to send these things to us. Because while someone could be security knowledgeable, they're not going to be experts like the team that's reviewing the logs every day. Right? That's why I say facilitate versus practitioner more. Now, again, that doesn't mean that a sysadmin shouldn't be up to date on what attacks are going on. And I think
Right.
it's actually, one possible way that you can approach this is to make sure that those people are getting regular,
Training.
not just regular training, but regular briefs so that they
Yep.
understand the state of security within your organization, so that they understand what the risks are and who might be trying to attack and what's been done. Like, briefing somebody on what's going on to anybody, from a user level to an admin level to anybody with enhanced visibility especially, can be super beneficial in helping to them to spot abnormal behavior that might be in line with that thing that they heard about.
Right.
Right. I'm a big fan of the concept of briefs, and not always in person, sometimes just an email update. This is going on, because then they're going to be your ally. The thing is, as I say, facilitate, like, they're partners, equals. And oftentimes security people don't exactly treat other IT teams as equals, and that becomes a big problem.
Unfortunately.
Often,
Yes,
that's like
that's
95%
awful.
of the time that
I mean,
there's
yeah.
Oh,
like
yeah.
it unfortunately is a pervading mentality that we've talked about before, but it's horrible. But I wanted to say, like, the briefing thing that you're talking about is a really good idea, right? So, like, typically the security team, let's say an incident happens, a breach happens, like, the security team's going to be involved in these briefings. They're going to be talking with the executives, plans, all that stuff. I mean, it wouldn't hurt if then that security team then turned around and said, hey, admins, we just want to give you a quick debriefing of how this worked out with these specific systems
Right.
as it applies to the systems that you're responsible for.
It goes a long way in bridging that gap, in giving them not necessarily like security training, which they can take if interested, but at least knowledge of the happenings on their network
Yep.
that are of concern, that might be outside of their normal scope of work, that can
Right.
help them spot other oddities and make sure that you have a strong relationship there.
It's been my experience, even despite some of the, like, holier than thou or rock star mentalities that appear, they
Yeah.
generally want more knowledge and to be
Correct.
better at their job than their peers at other companies.
Right.
Correct. But you're never going to get it by just being an asshole and not telling them anything.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's the problem. That contributes. Not, like you said, not briefing. Okay, that's awesome that you guys do briefing. before all the other, like, say 90% of the companies out there, I'll just say 90, and I could be wrong. I'm just fudging the numbers a little bit.
We're just literally pulling the number. I mean, out of our ass, out of thin air.
Pretty much.
Fake news.
Yep.
Fake news.
We're not gonna call it fake news because it actually happens.
It is
No,
an
it does
arbitrary
happen,
number
but
that
the
we're using. at this point.
90% is fake news. It
Yes,
absolutely.
we'll put the 90% as fake
We're
news.
supposed to be out of the era of
But-
fake news.
Yes, we are. We should
And
call
let's
this.
just go with, in BSD's experience, he has seen this a lot.
Or we could say, in our perfect world, it's 90%.
No. In our perfect world, it would be 0%.
Zero.
We don't want 90%.
I'm
We
trying
want
to-
0%.
I'm trying
And this is not like
Reverse engineer this.
0.0003568. This is just straight zero.
No, fuck that. I want 5 nines, damn it. 5 nines.
Damn it! I'm trying to reverse engineer.
Anybody
this
who's ever done
conversation.
sysadmin work definitely knows that
Yep.
it's the 5 nines
Yeah,
joke.
3
Yes.
versus 5. Everyone always wants 5 nines.
Of course. But no, it just in general, like a lot of places. I'm just gonna say a lot of places. I'm not gonna put numbers out there. But a lot of places don't use. They
We're
don't
making
use
them
the
shy
briefing-
now.
They don't. They don't use the briefing technique. Like usually, it's usually a situation where everybody's kind of like on their own island. Like
Oh,
the
yeah,
help
they-
desk has their own island. Sysadmins are in their own island.
Yep.
You have the SOC that's in their own island. The SOC will see something, and not all SOCs, some, but they'll see something like, oh, these guys don't know what they're doing. But they won't tell them. They won't
Oh,
say
yeah.
anything.
And this extends way past that. This extends
Yeah.
to service desk and all that stuff.
Yep.
Like service desk, like people say that the SOC is kind of the front line of security at a company. That's a load of bullshit.
No, it's
The
not.
service desk is the front line of security at a
exactly.
company.
It absolutely is.
Exactly.
Like if you don't have a good relationship with your service desk and you work in a SOC, you
You're
should
screwed.
probably fix that right.
It is both the first
Yeah.
line of defense and very highly the first line of breach.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Hug,
I mean,
give them
you got to fix
candy.
that shit now.
Yep.
Like, get to know your service desk people and have a good relationship there. Let them shadow you for a while.
Yes.
I love letting like other teams shadow my SOC.
Yes.
I think it's really beneficial because then those people know how we think and how we do stuff and
Yeah.
what we see and how we're going about it.
My recommendation is, as a security professional talking about becoming friends with, if you pick 3 groups of peers at the company you work at to make friends with: service desk, help desk, janitors, and security guards.
That's right.
And sysadmins.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
adding sysadmins in there.
So you're gonna do 4, but
I would
that's why I
probably
said
do
like
sysadmins. I would probably. I think I don't know if I would take janitors or security guards, but I would
So-
drop one of those for sysadmins.
okay. So we could say janitor / security guard, sysadmin, and service desk. Now the reason I say the janitor / security guards is they have all of the hot gossip about what's actually going on inside the company,
They sure
and
do.
you're likely to find out who is a potential insider threat risk.
Yep.
Or risk of breach before you have the chance to even look at the tech they're touching.
It also really depends on like the company too, because at a company like some of the companies I've been at, I might say devs, because like the people who are making the shit that's going public, those are good people for me to have a relationship
Yeah.
with.
And
But in general, it's like the
Sysadmins.
overlooked staff
Yeah.
are the
Oh,
ones
God,
that, yeah.
So closing thoughts on this topic.
Well, I would say that I agree with what you guys were saying. Like, far as like, I think briefing is definitely a great idea. I think all parties should, and I like the idea of having like, with the janitors, because yeah, they kind of hear a lot of conversations. That is true.
But also just being a good human at that point, because they're often overlooked and treated like crap, and just taking the time to treat them well.
Well, regardless of the position, people should treat people like humans. But, we live in I don't know what kind of world this is. But in general, all in all, I think the solution to the solution to beginning, I think the beginning to a good solution is, again, briefing each other. Stop being on an island. Briefing each other. Something occurs, hey, let the other team know. Let's start using the tools that are in-house as well too. If you have a security-minded sysadmin, if you don't, that's okay too. But
So I'm gonna TLDR that entire end in one word:
what?
communication.
and love.
We could add love too, but I did say one word, so communication is the one I'm going with.
All right, we'll go with communication tonight.
So is that time to move on to our attack thing? And God, I hope this is the right sound.
Yes, it is.
So let's talk about some attacks, BSD.
All right, so tonight we're going to talk about the spool sample attack, okay? And we're coming at it from a printer's perspective. When I say spools, and it sounds spooky, ooh, spools. So this all based off of the conversation that we just had when we were talking about, everybody kind of being on an island. There's no logging enabled. And then with the spool sample, it's more so, hey, you have access to a machine already. You're already, you know what? I'm a disgruntled employee. I'm not happy. And you know what? I don't care what's going on. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually fire up and, let's say, responder, right? And I want to grab a quick NTLM, always get that tongue-tied, NTLM version 1 packet, right? I want to grab that because I want to grab the challenge response for authentication and then cracking those NTLM hashes and using that hash to sign in to, of course, 90% of the places have Active Directory using a silver ticket. But here's the kicker. I don't want to be seen. And I know there's no logging on, but I don't know that for everything. So I'm going to funnel this through a SOX proxy while I'm doing this. Now, my question is to you, if I'm funneling all of this through a SOX proxy, how are you guys, what's the detection for this? Mind you, I'm coming in from a printer perspective now. I'm doing this attack on a printer to gain access to grab a challenge response and gain access to NTLM hashes and eventually get a Carrero silver ticket through SOX proxy. What would be your first step in detecting this particular attack?
I actually have a really easy one for this.
Go do it.
Proxy communication to printers is not common. I'd basically be looking for any network communication to a printer over a proxy or a known proxy set.
I like understudy. Honestly, I like it.
Even just considering printer in general, like knowing where your printers are on your network, and like knowing the IP addresses or MAC addresses associated with your printer, and then being able to pair that to network traffic that looks potentially awkward, is how I would do anything with a printer. Because not a lot happens to a printer.
But with no logging turned on.
Yeah, but you don't need logging turned on individually on any host. You're talking about raw network traffic at that point. So as long as you have network connections being made and any type of network logging, you're going to capture that. With no logging, you can capture nothing. So like you cannot throw no logging exists at me.
Yeah.
Because if you can't see it, you can't catch it, period.
Okay.
That doesn't work. So
well, and
I'm taking that as no logging on the host.
Yeah, no logging on the host.
So I'm assuming that I have network, and I'm giving
I had
you
to
the
make
network
it fun,
solution.
man. Yeah, no logging on the host, man.
Yeah, sorry. If I can't see it, I can't catch it. Like, that's just the way it goes. That's our job.
Is that how you do pen tests? Like you're in there, but you're like, no, turn off logging. Turn off logging. I got to do this, but you got to turn off all logging.
Turn it off.
Yeah, sorry, I just can't do a pen test unless you turn off logging. It's amazing how just far red teamers have fallen. Like scope of work. When I come in, all logging must be turned off.
No, damn it! You're not gonna do this. You're not gonna do this to the red teamers. This is red teamer abuse.
We didn't do it. You did it. You're the one who said all logging has to be turned off.
I didn't say all logging has to be turned off. I'm just saying, what if it was?
Then everybody's fucked. If you can't see it, you can't catch it. Like that's the rule of this game.
Hey, I love throwing something at understudy, and he just breaks down the barriers like the walls. Oh no! What do you mean this? Oh no! This like a
I'm sorry, dude. Like that's the rule. Like there's a whole thing like in police work, like no body, no crime. Like in this case, no log, no crime. Like if you can't see it, you can't catch it. It's just the way it goes. Although I
Yes.
feel like this is a good point to roll out. For the
Yes.
evening.
Yes.
So BSD man, go ahead, take us out.
No, we got first of all, I just want to say once again, thank you for everyone that's tuned in tonight. We have a blast doing detections, as you can see.
I was gonna say if you can't tell.
And I love doing this show weekly with my brothers, and I really enjoy it. And I just want to say, as you come in, or wherever you're going tomorrow, if you're going to work or not, or as you start your day, I just want you to get out there. And this has nothing to do with computers. I just want you to go forth and find badness.
With logging enabled.
There you go.